Juggernog does not work the way you think. There are secret downsides of certain augments, as well as some hidden bonuses of certain augments. Not to mention a certain augment combination that can allow you to take over 50 hits before you go down. There are things about Jug I have seen no one else cover, so get ready to have your mind blown because I've got the stats and way too many graphs. And this is how Juggernog actually works. As always with these analytical videos, be sure to use the chapters below to skip to whatever section you're most interested in or to the end for the final results. As always, this enormous spreadsheet you're about to see will be also linked in the description. This is by far the biggest perk augment test I've ever done. This took me like most of this week to test out, to play all these games, and there's a lot to cover, so let's get into it. Starting with the easiest major augment, Probiotic. Slightly increased maximum health with Juggernog. Pretty simple, your base health is 150. When you buy Juggernog by default, it goes to 250. With Probiotic, it'll be 300. Nothing too crazy there. We're going to skip all the way down to a minor augment called Retaliation, which says it will deal bonus damage while health is low. Luckily enough, that is exactly what it does. It will increase your damage output by 50% when you are at 50% or less health. This is surprisingly powerful. And that 50% health does change whether you have Jug or Probiotic. The way you know you're at 50% health is when you hear that sound cue and when your heartbeat starts being audible. In previous games, that sound cue was used when you were one hit away from being down, but now it's used to let you know, hey, you're at half health, and that retaliation can kick in. And 50% increased damage is stronger than Deadshot. It's actually really good. That being said, in terms of practicality, when you're in a situation where you're at 50% health, you're probably not looking at dealing the most damage you possibly can. You're probably looking at trying to get out of whatever situation got you into being at 50% or less health. However, if you are cornered or in a really bad situation, this little thing, this retaliation could actually help you deal enough damage to get out of that. That is, if the other minor augments weren't so powerful. In any other perk, this would have been a fantastic augment, but in Jug, both of the other augments just outshine this by far. And now we get to talk about everybody's favorite major augment, Reactive Armor. When an armor plate breaks, nearby normal enemies are stunned for a short time. Again, this one's pretty box standard. You will stun enemies for 2 seconds in a range of about 5 meters. It was really hard to test. It was really hard to see because, you know, you're hoarded up, but it was at least 3 to 5 meters. I'm pretty confident in the 5 meters though. And yes, unfortunately, I did test this against like Doppelgast and Manglers and Abominations, and no, they didn't get stunned. Now, what's cool about this is that this is basically Widow's Wine or Winter's Wail from Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4. So many people love this because it makes them feel safer, which is true. It does make you safer. If you get yourself in a bad situation and a zombie hits you and it breaks an armor plate, then all of the zombies within a 5-meter radius are going to be stunned. That being said, if you're in a bad situation, then you're probably looking to get away from all of those enemies within that 5-meter radius. And when you're running away from all of the zombies that, you know, actually hit you, that means you're running into zombies that aren't actually stunned by your reactive armor. So much like Retaliation, it's kind of this catch-22 where it will save you by stunning the zombies that are closest to you, as it should. But in terms of practicality, you're going to be running away from them unless you're doing a camping strategy with the light sword or just a melee weapon. You're going to be running away from zombies who are stunned, in which case you should probably just want to choose some of the other minor or major augments. But this really is kind of personal preference and your play style. Personally, for me, Juggernog is all about how many hits I can take before I go down, which transitions us beautifully into Hardened plates. Hardened plates say that armor plates have more damage mitigation. This damage mitigation, and especially the armor durability, is what took this video so long. Every single tier of armor has a different damage mitigation and has a different durability. And so I had to play so many games going all the way to round 50 with just one armor plate, and then I would test how much damage that one armor plate mitigated. I would test, you know, I'd buy a tier 2 armor plate, see how much damage I was taking. I'd buy a tier 3 armor plate, see how much damage I was taking at all of these different rounds with all of these different armor plates. And I've seen people struggle a little bit with the concept of damage mitigation, so I'm going to try to use mitigation and absorption interchangeably. For example, in rounds 1 through 10, zombies are going to deal 30 damage if you don't have armor. If you have a 1 plate equipped and any armor within that 1 plate, you are only going to take 17 damage, which means that this armor plate is absorbing or mitigating 13 points of this 30 damage. And you can see with a 2 plate, it's absorbing 17 hits of this 30 hits. With a 3 plate, it's absorbing 19 damage of this 30 damage. So mitigation, absorption, kind of interchangeable here. I'm going to use them interchangeably. So I used this information and then I extrapolated all of the different possibilities that we could have with Juggernog, and I converted it to hits to down. Again, for example, in rounds 1 through 10, if you don't have any armor, the zombies are dealing 30 damage, you are a 5 hit to down. With any armor, you're 9 hits, and if you manage to somehow buy a 3-plate vest before round 10, you are a 14 hit to down before round 10. Without Juggernog, I should say, without Juggernog. With Juggernog, if you buy a 3-plate vest before round 10, you're 23 hit. And if you have Probiotic, which increases your base health to 300, and you buy a tier 3 plate, you will be a 28 hit to down before round 10. Now, buying a tier 3 plate before round 10 is kind of a feat. You need to like forego like Pack-a-Punch and other perks and just buy Jug and just buy the tier 3 armor. It's not that big of a deal. So whenever you see some ridiculous numbers, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, no, it's not as crazy as it seems. And so I figured out with all of these numbers, I figured out that at its base, tier 1 armor will mitigate 44% of damage, tier 2 will absorb 58% of damage, and tier 3 will mitigate 64% of damage. However, with hardened plates, this increases differently for different tiers. This increases this to 60% absorption for tier 1, so better than tier 2 armor with just tier 1 with this augment. 72% damage mitigation with tier 2, and then with tier 3, 78% of damage is going to be absorbed with a tier 3 plate. So I did the calculations again, and here we have the new numbers for damage mitigation hardened plates for Jug. Now, you're going to start seeing some pretty fun stuff. For example, zombie damage before round 10. If we're mitigating 78% with our hardened plates with a tier 3 plate, we're only taking 7 damage from this 30. And if we have Probiotic on, that means we're 43 hit to down. It's pretty crazy, but like I said, that tier 3 plate before round 10 is pretty difficult to achieve. What is more common though is this second damage range here, 11 to 30, only dealing 11 damage. And if you have hardened plates and Probiotic, you are a 28 hit to down. That is really powerful and more powerful than people might think. Now you might notice here with the hits to down with no Jug and damage mitigation, well, I said this is impossible because in order to get the damage mitigation, you need to have Jug, and just by default Jug will get you to 250 health. So this whole stat is basically impossible to have here, but I was able to extrapolate with the numbers. But overall, you are never ever going to use these numbers here because you cannot have the damage mitigation without Jug. Does that make sense? Now, if you're not using Probiotic, if you're one of those beautiful people who love reactive armor and you decide to do more damage mitigation, which is a pretty decent combination, this is the box you're going to look at here. I really do like looking at this 11 to 30 because that's where most of the game we play actually is, where Easter eggs are taking place usually, and then maybe occasionally people go past round 30, which is also important to look at. But if you are using that reactive armor with the damage mitigation, you're able to take 23 hits with a 3-plate vest, which is far better than the 14 hits you were taking before. And especially when you do get past that round 30 mark, only having 10 hits till you go down versus the 15, that is a substantial difference. I cannot recommend this damage mitigation enough in terms of just sheer ability to tank hits from zombies, especially when you pair it with Probiotic, because that means that you are getting 15 hits before you go down, above round 50. Just look at the difference. If you're using reactive armor with retaliation or the more armor durability, which we're about to get into, you're taking 10 hits to go down in round 30, 8 hits to go down in rounds 50 plus, but if you have the damage mitigation and the Probiotic, you are nearly doubling the amount of health that you have. You're doubling the amount of hits you can take before you go down. So the question is this sheer amount of damage you can take worth the 5 meters and 2-second stun duration of the other zombies? For some people, it very well may be. That stun effect could be the key to their strategy. It could be how they get out of that bad situation. But is running reactive armor really going to save you the extra 3 hits or the extra 2 hits here at these rounds? Again, it's a personal preference. This is a very well-balanced augment system. This is a really compelling situation to be in. However, this is where we get to our very first mind-blowing discovery that I have only seen one other person make. Because what I found out is that if you run the hardened plates and you get that increased damage mitigation, your armor durability will decrease, which means that it's easier for enemies to break your armor. The only video I've seen ever cover this is by Z Karma, so shout out to Z Karma. But before we get to the specifics, we need to cover armor durability by default. Testing this took so many hours, so many days, because once again, I had to play all the way to round 50 plus with just a single armor plate to test out how many hits it would take to break. And I do need to preface this. The way I measured all of this armor durability is simply by counting how many hits it took for the armor to break. That being said, all hits in armor are not equal. There is 100% a hidden health feature of all of these armor plates, but I didn't figure out exactly what the numbers were, and I wanted to use the hits because I feel like that's a lot more practical way of looking at armor. But just so you know, some of these things might be rounded a little bit. For example, sometimes when I was doing this test, there would be a time where it looked like my armor was completely destroyed. However, the zombie would need to hit me one more time in order to get the blue break effect and get the sound effect of the armor that is actually broken. That's probably because there's like 0.001% of an armor hit left, and that's what finally made the armor actually break. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully it'll make sense once you see these other numbers here. But as you can see, this armor durability we have again, round 1 through 10, round 11 through 30, and actually all of these, whenever you see till this, it really should be till 49. That's really what it is, because the new damage stuff and the new durability stuff happens at round 50. But as you can see here, a 3-plate vest only has 12 hits at round 50. It has 14 hits until it completely breaks from full to empty from round 31 to 49, 21 hits from 11 to 30, you get the picture. Now, as a side note, it is also worth noting all of these hits to durability were based off of zombie hits. I can confirm if an enemy is dealing more damage to you, that will be worse for your durability. So you will be able to take less hits from manglers or doppelgas or amalgams, etc. The more damage that the armor needs to mitigate, the less durable it is. Like I said, it's like it's got its own health bar, and the more damage it absorbs, the weaker it gets or the more depleted it gets. I'm sorry, I didn't want to test out manglers on every single round and amalgams on every single round and mimics on every single round, so I apologize for the lack of thoroughness there. And of course, I did test this with durable plates, which slightly increase your armor durability. And as you can see, it definitely increases that armor durability. Instead of, being 12 hits to completely break your armor, you'll have 15 hits to completely break your armor at round 50 with a 3-plate vest. You guys know how to read this chart. However, going back to our damage mitigation that we were talking about, you could see just how different the durability is for our hardened plates. Instead of having 21 hits to break at rounds 11 to 30, it's all the way down at 17. And so when calculating the difference of all of this stuff, obviously, like I said, I was doing hits instead of the actual number that I couldn't find. Luckily, the math kind of averaged out pretty cleanly, actually. It came out that tier 2 armor has twice as much durability as tier 1, and tier 3 armor has twice the durability of tier 2 armor. And that's something you could pretty easily see. And this is a great example of the rounding that I was talking about. Like, that's not exactly times 2, but you could see exactly how it does double every time. 6 goes, it's almost 12, and then that doubles to almost be 22. That almost is a, like you see, it's really nice. It really worked out really well. And then when we add on our durable plates, our other minor augment, it increases that durability by 25% of the base, which again makes a lot of sense. 21, half of that is around 10 and something. So about 5 would be a quarter of that plus 5, that makes sense. So you're getting quite a bit of durability with those extra durable plates. That's really good. However, with the increased damage mitigation, the cost of that mitigation is armor durability. This is the hidden downside. You are getting 20% less durability on your armor plates when running this mitigation. And so if we take the argument that I had with, Probiotic here, sure, with the increased damage mitigation and Probiotic at a 3-plate at round 50, it takes you 15 hits to go down. However, your armor is going to break after 10 hits. So this means in order to get the maximum effect of this 15 hits to down, you are going to need to replate at least 1 or 2 armor plates, so that way your armor doesn't break and then the zombies are dealing whatever crazy wacky damage, 90 damage that they're doing at round 50. Does that make sense? This is so fun. Now, if you're running something like Reactive Armor and durable plates, this is the downside to that, because you're not getting the increased damage mitigation. So at round 30 here, 30 to 50 with a 3-plate vest, you are a 10 hit to down. However, your armor is durable until 18 hits, which means that you are going to go go down before all of your armor is used. Now, some people might like that. Some people like saving that armor. If armor is a really annoying thing for you to collect, if you feel like you're always running out of armor, sure, that's awesome. But again, you are losing out on those 5 hit points of health if you just did the damage mitigation. But again, if you did that, then you would need to put on armor plates because, as you can see down here, the armor durability is only worth 12 hits, but you're 15 hit to down. This is so interesting, isn't it? So would you rather armor plate up as you're being hit with your increased damage mitigation in order to maximize all of the damage mitigation and to kind of reverse the effects of this hardened plate? Or would you rather not have the damage mitigation and run durable plates and have armor, but have far less hits to down anyway? Or would you rather just run retaliation and just get zombies out of your way and save yourself from being hit in the first place? This is such an interestingly balanced perk, and we're not even done yet, because we have yet to talk about one of the most ridiculous augments in the entirety of modern zombies, Turtle Shell. Turtle Shell says armor acts as a shield on your back, completely absorbing damage to your back. No damage mitigation when hit from the front. And yes, this does exactly what it says. If you get hit from the back, it will completely take armor. It will not touch your health at all. But if you get hit from the side, if you get hit from the front, if you get hit from the other side, it will deal the full damage that these zombies are doing. This is the definition of high risk and oh so high reward. And this is where the hidden benefit that they don't tell you about, just like, damage mitigation, the hardened plates had a secret downside, Turtle Shell has a secret upside. When you run Turtle Shell, you get an increase in plate durability, which means I had to, yet again, go to round 50 with 1 plate of armor with running Turtle Shell. Now, this one is the weirdest one that I tested. I tested this quite a bit, especially this 1 plate, because even though I literally just said that these plates are more durable than the base plates, if you have 1 plate, it seems to be less durable than the regular armor plates. So for example, round 11 to 30, it's a 6 hit with just base armor with no other augments or anything. But when you put on Turtle Shell, you only have 5 hits till that armor breaks. However, once you start buying tier 2 and tier 3 plates, that's when you see this absolutely incredible increase of armor durability. 3 plates on round 11 to 30 by default, 21 hits of durability. Turtle Shell, you have 27 hits of durability. And the fun, crazy, totally impractical, nutty thing about this is when you pair it with the armor durability, the plate durability, the durable plates. Because if we look over here, Turtle Shell, you can see I put like 0 to 20 to 25%. It really does end up being like 25% once you get to tier 3, which really is the only thing that matters in the long run. Who cares if 1 plate is less durable, because we're going to be buying 2 plates pretty quickly either way. It comes out to be about a 20 to 25% increase just by running Turtle Shell alone. But when you add on top of that Turtle Shell durable plates, it's 25% of an increase of the Turtle Shell increase. So this durable plates isn't 25% more here, it's 25% more with the Turtle Shell increase already. And that's where we get the absolutely nutty, ridiculous 56 hits to break your armor. And what's so cool about this is that Turtle Shell turns your armor, instead of mitigating damage, instead of, really just saving you a bunch of hits, it acts as a secondary health bar. So like we were talking about with like Probiotic saying, you're 15 hits down, but your armor only has 10 hits until it breaks. That is completely circumvented with Turtle Shell, because Turtle Shell is going to 100% absorb the entire damage, which means that yes, if every single hit is coming from the back, you are a 56 plus hit to kill at round 9 with a 3-plate vest. I am showing you right now the absurdity of this augment combination. It's insane. I was giggling the whole time doing this. Again, like I said, 3 plates before round 10, it's pretty impractical, but man, isn't this a silly visual? Isn't this so ridiculous? And in terms of practicality, moving on to rounds 11 to 30, you are a 34 hit to down. Again, if you can manage to take all of that damage on your back. At round 50 plus, by default, you are that armor that you have on your back, that shield, is a 15 hit to break. With the durable plates, it's 19 hits to break. The major and utter downside that everybody's aware of, the reason why people don't run Turtle Shell, is because even though this has 19 hits until your armor breaks, you are essentially exposed from every other angle. And at round 50, zombies are dealing 90 damage to you. And you cannot run Probiotic because Turtle Shell is a major augment, so you have to have 250 health which means you are basically a 3-hit down, which means you could take 2 hits before you're 1 hit away from going down at round 50 plus. Now, if you are skilled enough, if you have the skill and the strategy to take most of these, 21 hits, 19 of them on your back, this could be one of the best skill displays ever in Black Ops 6 Zombies if you manage to take all of the damage in your back. How practical that is, not very practical, unfortunately. However, playing this way until round 50 throughout the round 30s was actually really darn fun because there's another hidden benefit, not necessarily a hidden benefit in a hidden stat, but think about when you're training on that high round, when you're at round 30, 40 plus, you're getting super sprinters, parasites are shooting and sniping you and ticking away your health. How many times have you been running away from the horde and you're just begging for your health regeneration to start? It's so slow, isn't it, here in Black Ops 6? Health regeneration start, and then it starts going, but then some stinking parasite snipes you from across the map and your health regeneration stops, you get hit by something else, and you go down. When you have Turtle Shell on, if you're running away from the enemies and a parasite snipes you in the back, it absorbs 100% into your armor, and your health can completely regenerate uninterrupted. If you can manage to do the classic little wiggle and put your back towards the enemies, and playing in third person, by the way, kind of helped this. Hopefully you're seeing gameplay now. If you can develop this skill of absorbing all of the damage on your back and turning away from enemies, this is a really fun attachment or fun augment to run. It's great to be meta. It's great to have the most hits to down the mix up, but this is something that I'm going to try. This was insanely fun. Unfortunately, this doesn't block things like the Amalgam grab or the Mimic grab or even the Doppelgas little effect when it dies. I wasn't able to block that, but it will block the laser attack from the Abominations. It will attack the Mangler cannon shots. Huge. Like I said, you're running away from the Mangler, shoots you in the back. Doesn't matter. Your health can regenerate because the armor is completely absorbing in your back. Plus, this durability functions now with Turtle Shell. It functions like an additional health bar, which means that not only do you have the base, 23 hits in 31 to 49 and 19 hits from 50 plus, not only do you have that as a base, you have 3 armor plates in your reserve that at any point in time, you could just instantly put it, well, not instantly, it takes a second or so, to put into your armor, and boom, there you go. You instantly have that many more hits to down with Turtle Shell. This completely changes the way you play Black Ops 6, and if you haven't tried it, it is incredibly fun. Now, luckily, the hidden downside of the negative 20% durability of Hardened plates does not apply to Turtle Shell. When you have extra damage mitigation with Turtle Shell, it does absolutely nothing because the damage is already being 100% mitigated through the Turtle Shell augment. So whatever you do, don't run Hardened plates when you have Turtle Shell on. It's doing nothing for you. And this might be the best case scenario to run Retaliation because you're so exposed to all of this insane damage when you do get hit once or twice, that means you're going to take more damage than the other augments because, you're not getting any damage mitigation with Turtle Shell from the front. So that extra damage boost to you as the player might help you get zombies out of your way that are in front of you. So honestly, Turtle Shell with Retaliation is a great pairing for Retaliation if you want to use it. But man, running it with durable plates is so fun and so funny. And it really does play like the classic OG shields, which got me thinking, how durable were those shields in the first place? So I went back to Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4 and I built the shields, a couple shields, and I tested out their durability. And so here I went to Dryzadraha, Classified in Black Ops 4 and Ancient Evil in Black Ops 4, and I found that Black Ops 3's shield, incredibly durable, 34 hits. 34 hits. That is the same as Turtle Shell with durable plates from around 11 to 30. However, I will say zombies in Black Ops 3 hit you so freaking fast. I was paranoid. I had to count so fast because this zombie was windmill hitting me so quickly. Black Ops 3 zombies are legit. Moving on to Black Ops 4 Classified and Ancient Evil, to my surprise, they have the same durability at 16. I thought the Ancient Evil shield was really brittle and fragile, and I thought it broke faster than the other shields, but apparently not. But then again, I only tested out a few of these shields. I didn't test out every single shield. I just wanted to be a little fun here. But 16 hits, that is comparable to round 50 plus, again, with armor. And again, when these shields broke in these older zombies games, you had to go to the workbench to replenish them. In Black Ops 6, when you have Turtle Shell, as I said, yeah, you may only have 19 versus the 34, but guess what? You have 3 armor plates on you in your reserve, and you can get more armor plates from the zombies, which means you can have double this. You can have 38, which means you have even more durability than the shield did. This is pretty interesting. The only downside of this is how much damage zombies do after round 30. 75, 90 damage. You're looking at a 4 or 3 hit down with super sprinters and boss zombies. It's pretty tough. It's pretty tough. Turtle Shell takes some skill to really get the most out of. But there is another step further we can go, because we have a Gobblegum called Shields Up. And this increases our armor durability by 2. It literally just doubles whatever it is. And if you're anything like me, you see this magical 56 hit to down, and you see the Shields Up double durability. And so of course I had to go into a game of Liberty Falls. I got tier 3 armor before round 10. I popped a Shields Up Gobblegum, and I almost got kicked for inactivity because I was sitting here for 3 minutes. For 3+ minutes. Now, I also did replate, because you can replate during this whole thing and get even longer duration of your turtle shell. Yes, it's completely impractical. I'm sorry if you feel it's a little bit disingenuous, but I just find it so fun. I find it so fun that this is in the game. It's ridiculous. Now, the last question you might have is, how does all of this interact with Golden Armor? Well, Golden Armor doesn't increase your durability. It doesn't increase your damage mitigation. It seems to just regenerate your armor. That is it. It works with Turtle Shell, so Turtle Shell will work just fine. Oh, that is a good point. When doing the Golden Armor quest during that boss fight with the HVTs, armor acts differently in that. So if you have Turtle Shell, I was afraid that since I didn't have any damage mitigation from the front, if I got shot by a mimic, I would just insta down. Luckily, they thought of that. And armor works just like regular. It mitigates those damage attacks from the front just like any other augment would. So you don't need to worry about running Turtle Shell. That whole like lockdown blood ritual process completely changes how armor works. Your armor works as a health bar first, and that's really what it is, and it works all the way around. So no need to worry about any sort of weird combinations there. And then I'll check, hopefully editing donuts can do this. I believe it takes Golden Armor about 2 or 3 seconds to start regenerating. And then I think it regenerates an armor plate in like 7 seconds, or the whole armor in like 20 seconds or something like that. I don't know. I'll throw it up on screen post editing here. But overall, the only thing Golden Armor does is regenerate your plates. It does not change any functionality of the armor whatsoever. Now, I know this is a lot of information and it might look a little bit weird, so I also reorganized it into this page, and hopefully this looks a little bit better. I organized it into the round 1 through 10 and kind of all of the different categories that we have: the incoming damage, the armor durability, and the hits to down, with all of the different augment combinations on the side here. And I did that for all of the different rounds: 11 to 30, 31 to 49, and then 50 plus. But if you wanted to look at these categories individually, I also did that down here with all of the incoming damage for all of the different rounds, so you can compare the armor durability for all of the different rounds and the hits to down. And so we can easily just kind of point out the obvious hits to down here. You know, we've got Probiotic and Hardened plates. That's just going to be the best hits to down for rounds 1 through 10 and all these guys right here. I was tempted to put the Turtle Shell over here because that also technically counts as hits to down, but I also thought, well, technically it doesn't. And then I did also go to the painstaking process of graphing out all of these different rounds here. You can really tell how proportionate everything is because all of these graphs basically look identical, because all of the different like augments and everything, they're just percentage based. So the numbers will change, but the actual graphs themselves will stay the same, at least proportionally. But I also added these ones here for damage, durability, and hits to down. And you can see all of the different combinations of stuff. And the only thing you need to wrap your brain around, the reason this is kind of weird looking, is that you need to wrap your brain around that the left, like these, the different heights are the different rounds. So obviously when it comes to armor durability and hits to down, the leftmost bar here is the earlier rounds. So you're able to take more hits to down. As you progress to the higher rounds towards the right, you're able to take less hits to down. Your armor is less durable. So like I said, this will all be in the description. I don't want to go over this because all this is just all of the numbers that we just went through, just looking at it a little bit more pretty. And I probably should have been looking at this for the entire video, but hey, it's here if you want it. I really would recommend. In fact, I'm going to make this the first thing that you see when you open up this spreadsheet here. And I also do have all of our stats here that we found. Yeah, like I said, all the stats, all the graphs for you. So let's recap, because I think we learned a lot. This graphic will be linked in the description. So many of you thought this was much easier to look at than the text on screen, so that's what we're going to do. Probiotic increases Juggernog health by 50 hit points, from 250 health to 300 health. Turtle Shell will make it so that armor absorbs 100% of damage from behind, but will also make it that no armor absorption from any other angles. And the hidden effect is that armor durability is increased by about 20%. In reality, tier 1 is like 0%. In fact, it actually hurts durability, and tier 2 is like 20%, and then tier 3 is like 25%. So it's actually pretty good. Reactive Armor makes it so that broken armor plates stun nearby enemies. Stuns enemies within 5 meters for 2 seconds, and this does not work on special or elite enemies. Retaliation increases damage by 50% if you are at 50% or lower health. Hardened plates makes it so that armor has an increased damage absorption. Tier 1 goes from absorbing 44% of damage to 60% of damage, tier 2 from 58 to 72, tier 3 from 64% of damage to 78% of damage. However, the hidden downside is that this reduces durability of your armor by 20%, which means you're probably going to need to put on armor as you're getting hit to get the most out of this damage mitigation and to get the more hits that you need to survive. Durable plates increases armor durability by 25%, and this is paired oh so beautifully with Turtle Shell. When paired correctly with Turtle Shell, you can get a ridiculous amount of hits to go down, like over 50 hits with tier 3 armor before round 10. We also learned that Shields Up just straight up doubles the armor durability of whatever augments you have equipped, and Golden Armor doesn't change anything about armor except the fact that it can actually regenerate. In terms of augment recommendations, this might be the most personal preference augments you can actually get. For the most hits to down, I love pairing Probiotic with Hardened plates. You get the most statistical hits to down, and it saves me so much. Reactive Armor is good for those melee only situations or for the high rounds on Citadel de Mor with the light sword, but it really is based on your playstyle. I would highly suggest though, if you are running Reactive Armor, go with Hardened plates. While this will decrease your armor durability, it will increase the amount of hits you can take before you go down, which if you're running Reactive Armor, you're probably gonna want anyway. And Turtle Shell might be the most fun Juggernog augment we have here. Pairing it up with durable plates and a shield up getting you over 100 hits to down is just so silly, but this is going to be greatly affected by your skill and your ability to turn yourself to take all of the damage from your back. This might be the absolute best perk and augment combinations in the entirety of Black Ops 6. And even though other perks like Death Perception might not be as useful, I think some of us might be sleeping on some of those augments. If you want to see exactly how powerful Death Perception can be sure to check out this video and stay beautiful.